Our top story this morning, 2 men arrested and charged on Sunday with assault on Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick, who later died from injuries sustained in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Julian Kater of Pennsylvania and George Tanios of West Virginia are accused of working together to use bear spray on Sicknick, but according to court documents, authorities have stopped short of charging them with killing him. The search warrant application says there is video of Kater reaching into Tanios' backpack and later holding a can of chemical spray. A body camera of one officer captured one of the men holding a canister in his right hand and aiming it in the officer's direction while moving his right arm from side to side. Both men made court appearances yesterday and were ordered to remain in custody. And, Joe, if you follow the FBI, they are slowly trying to arrest anyone and everyone who was involved in any violent way in the Capitol riot. And they're still looking for people. But these 2 men, it appears, according to those who are, charging them, had something to do with the death of a Capitol police officer.
Well, yeah, we don't know that. I mean, that's David Ignatius. One of the things I wanted to bring up with you is there may not be a direct link there. We originally were told, I think it was the New York Times told us that he died from being hit by a fire extinguisher a couple of times. Then the Capitol Hill police pulled back and nobody's talked specifically about how he has died. There hasn't been a follow-up. There are questions surrounding that. Was it this bear spray that somehow caused a condition? So we have that question. We had Pentagon officials come before Congress a couple of weeks ago, but not the Pentagon officials that didn't send the National Guard straight over. There are all of these questions that continue to hang around the worst attack on the United States Capitol since the War of 1812, and yet we still have no 9/11 type commission. We're not moving in the right direction. Nancy Pelosi's proposing something that Republicans will never agree to, that has a 7-4 split between Democrats and Republicans. Isn't it time for the Biden administration to reach back to some former Republican leaders, like maybe Tom Ridge and Mike Mukasey and others, and some former Democratic leaders, and just get a 9/11 style commission inside the executive branch?
I think it would be good to have that commission. The record that the country needs to go forward has to be established in a way that people think is fair and impartial. But I'm impressed, Joe, by the fact that this investigation continues to roll forward. It's true, we don't have the coroner's report, I don't believe, on the death of Officer Sicknick, so you can't charge him yet for murder when you're not sure exactly how charge these 2 suspects for murder when you're not sure how he died. But the investigation goes forward. There's no sign of a split within the FBI about carrying it out. There's less reaction to the investigation than I feared there might be around the country. FBI offices, state and local law enforcement are going out there, knocking on doors, putting together complicated conspiracy cases against these people. So, yes, it'd be good to have that commission with a lot of distinguished men and women who would come with a final judgment. But for me, right now, it's the inexorable pace of tracking down and charging and then eventually trying the people who were involved that day, and that having public support, and it does. So that's my takeaway. Is actually this is probably right now exactly what we need.
Well, and Willie, the FBI just continues to do an extraordinary job searching out these people, trying to get help from the public, finding them and bringing them to justice.
Yeah, there were a lot of people in that building, so this is a methodical effort. It's been less than 2 months, and they're using all the technology at their disposal to capture images, to use facial recognition, to match up insignia they may have seen on their clothing to something they're wearing in other social media posts. So they're doing the best they can. But Mara Gay, when you read the details of this charging document against the two men, who again are not charged with the murder of Officer Sicknick, but are charged with assault, and you realize that they were calling for the bear spray. For people who don't know, bear spray is exactly what it sounds like. If you're out walking in the woods in Montana, you carry bear spray so you can neutralize a 6-foot grizzly bear. So some of these people came prepared, but to hear some people in the media, and in fact some Republican senators, try to downplay that this was not an armed insurrection, that this wasn't so bad, it was a few bad apples, and it was people strolling through Statuary Hall. This charging document is another reminder of what people came with to this event.
Yeah, people came in tactical gear. They came with zip ties. They came with bear spray, which anybody who has ever gone camping in the presence of any kind of bear knows you don't use on another human being. That's to protect you instead of having a gun, a rifle. Yeah. They also came and put a noose on, outside the Capitol. And so these were not people who came to have a conversation. And lest we forget that you had members of Congress who were terrorized and terrified without any plan for their own safety or the safety of their staffs, not just police officers who are also there to serve the public and our democracy, but also those members of Congress and journalists. So in all, it was a massive failure. And I can't say enough how important it is that as these perpetrators are brought to justice in the criminal sense, that also we have a 9/11 style commission that is wherever possible, to the extent possible, that the public can actually understand and see. I think there's an important part of this process that needs to be public.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.